Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia. And as you can probably tell, I seem to have entered the stone world. Somehow. And I can't really be too loud because Tsukasa is probably nearby, as I just saw Tiju and Yuzuriha running away from someone after a big explosion, carrying a lifeless Senku. Yes, after last week's episode, if you remember, Senku basically died. But his two friends seem to escape with him. Anyhow, we start off this episode 5, with some slightly changed scenes. As if you remember last week's episode, we had the scene with Senku's backstory, and then we saw Taiju running in and saving his inventions, and how they all became friends, and, they had the dolls at the end. Well, this time it's a little bit changed, as we see an altered version of Senku's past involving Tsukasa. So this is clearly from Tsukasa's point of view. And the main three, becomes the main four. As we see Tsukasa saving Senku from the bullies, and then we see him joining the group. He even has his own doll by the end of this scene, so they can send it up to space. And it's worth noting as well that a few more scenes depict them actually scientifically doing other experiments that would basically improve fitness or something, because we see Tsukasa hooked up to this machine. We also get to see one new female character, and this is supposedly Tsukasa's sister, as if you connect the story about his sister loving seashells from episode 3, I think it was, or 2, one of them, and then, there's a lot of similarities between the girl in that story and the girl that we see in this shot. Right, now I have asked how these two escaped, and it seems like Taiju used his brain. Okay, I'm not quite sure, I had to second guess that myself. However, it turns out he used it in a combination with Yuzuriha, so maybe that's not in the realms of impossibilities. While Tsukasa was distracted by a big rock tossed into the air, Yuzuriha threw a black substance towards him. That's right, gunpowder. This went flying into Tsukasa's direction, and then the giant rock basically crashed down onto it. And if you remember, when you bang this black substance, gunpowder, with something heavy, boom, a big explosion is created, giving the two a chance to escape. And it also gives these two characters a good character achievement within the show, as it shows that, they can think for themselves and they are good working together. And you know what? Escaping from Tsukasa is no easy task. So then we find out that Senku kind of baited Tsukasa into attacking his neck, because as we see throughout the show so far, he always cracks his neck like that. And it turns out he has a piece of stone attached to the back of his neck. With a bit of help from revival fluid, something magical happens. And a shiny monkey is born. Wait. Let me explain. We get a flashback, and we see when Senku is first revived. Yes, we don't see if Senku actually comes back to life. We just see a flashback of him when he first awakens. This part of the episode was great, as we get to see just how powerful Senku is on his own. Something we have yet to really see in this show as of yet. And it was really nice and refreshing to see that. Because as we all know, we got Taiju as the guy who is very energetic, he's got lots of stamina, strength. Tsukasa's the person that can take anything down with his bare hands. And Yuzuriha is the craftsman or the craftswoman. And, Senku is none of those. And we see that he's none of those. But he is smart, and he has the power of science. So, he shows just how resourceful he is, as we see him create tools, like spears, clubs, out of stones. We see him making clothing, and shelter, fire, and traps to catch deers and other animals in. So this is great from his character's point of view, because it helps develop his character even further, showing us what he's capable of. Now, throughout this entire scene, we saw like these little signs appear up on the wall or up on the screen saying acquired. These kept appearing and it wasn't too obnoxious. I was fine with it personally, as they do it in the manga, so again, I'm not against it. I quite liked it. I thought it was a nice sort of, nice little charm they add to the episode. Now, like I said, all of this episode altogether does a great job in showcasing a couple of things. Number one, the bond between the three main characters. This is highlighted very much in this episode, as they all manage to follow the same line of thinking that helps them all get the results that they pretty much want, and did. Yuzuriha showed that she trusts Tiju completely, and she even catches on to his plan when they're trying to escape from Tsukasa. And, you know, the other two, Yuzuriha and Tiju, they showed just how much they trust Senku, and they managed to figure out what his plan is, / was. This wouldn't have been possible if they weren't all friends and didn't all trust each other. And this is shown in a flashback when they're talking about a book from, Jin. However you want to pronounce his name. He's a good character and he's going to be coming up shortly. But anyway, in this flashback, we see them talking about if you had to save a friend or a loved one, who would you choose? And Senku's like, everybody. And this obviously goes back to present day, when they're all thinking, what would Senku do? How would he do this? How would he do that? X, Y, and Z. And, you know, they get to the result that they wanted. Or they should have got to, basically. So that was great. And like I've mentioned, the other showcase that this episode has was Senku's ability to adapt to this new world and his surroundings. So he builds the essentials. He does a great job in showing off his skills, smarts, anything you want, and he just shows off in a fantastic way to these other monkeys that are basically putting him down throughout this like sort of comedic part of the episode. Like, yes, it was a flashback, but it was also quite comedic, so I did like that very much. And again, it did brilliant in terms of developing his character. And all round, it was just entertaining. I know some people wanted to get more from this episode, but overall, I thought this episode was very satisfying. It has a good amount of comedy, it had great showcasing of the characters and their abilities, and all round, I was just enjoyed. And the music, the sound effects, everything meshed together nicely. You had it nice sort of quiet, yet sad music at the beginning, and you had the kind of jolly, building and exciting, sort of uplifting music towards the end while you see Senku making all these things and overcoming the trials that he has to overcome. It was all fantastic and it all meshed together nicely. So, if you haven't watched this episode, make sure you go and do it because it is great. And again, it does a lot for the characters themselves. So that's going to do it for this review because I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit and I probably am. So hopefully we can avoid Tsukasa for a little bit longer. But anyway, I'm going to get back to looking through this stone world. And if you've enjoyed, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I'll catch you all later. Goodbye.